It says 5 on your thingy, man.
No, that's wrong.
All right. Well, good morning. It's your Blue Line group with your BlueLine Wives Roll Call podcast. I'm Shannon Gilbert with Emerge Real Estate.
I'm Jamie Wright with Wright Dalbo Insurance.
I'm Amy Lewis, mortgage loan consultant.
And we are coming to you live from LEPD Firearm and Range right here on Bethel Road in Columbus, Ohio.
And for those of you that are not familiar with who we are yet, we are a dedicated team of law enforcement families specializing in real estate, financial, and insurance services, fervent about creating ongoing professional relationships and giving back to our first responder families.
Yes. So, Amy, we didn't hear from you last week on the beat. So,
I didn't want to take up too much time. Actually, why don't you tell them what the show's about today? Because my beat's going to be a little bit about our show. So we're not going to have too much time.
I'll let Jamie go ahead and do that because Jamie's been excited to talk about this topic.
Well, I just thought it would be a really great time for us to talk about how we self-care and what that means and what that means to us as individuals and then as a family as well.
Yeah. Okay, so for my beat, just so you guys know out there, we always know what our topic is, but we don't know what the other person's going to talk about. Kind of keeps it live. So I may have taken a little different take on this than everybody else. So for my beat today, this is just something little. I know you probably can't zoom in on this, but I will paste this on our Facebook page. And you can find us on Facebook at the Blue Line Group Real Estate Services Central Ohio. But if you put in Blue Line Group and you know you're in Columbus, you'll find us. It's kind of long. Facebook makes you do that. So what I do is I got this, it's just a little, I wouldn't call it a devotional, but it's just a nice little reminder of that all of us have a purpose here and all of us are loved and all of us are needed. And it's just a quick little reminder. And this is one thing that I do every day. And I would encourage everybody to just take a moment and realize that every single person is special. And I will post this on our Facebook page so you guys feel free to copy it and so forth.
Can you read
What's
it to us?
say?
Sure. Well, if you
forgot.
No. So it just says, I am loved. I am enough. I am needed. I am chosen. I am capable. I am forgiven. I am redeemed. I belong to God. I was created on purpose for a purpose. I am who God says that I am. And I say that to myself every day. It's just kind of a nice reminder to realize that you are needed.
Yeah. So basically we're saying it to ourselves because perhaps maybe we don't feel that from our husbands or...
No, this is strictly personal. It has nothing to do with anything of your, you can interpret it any way that you want.
Sure.
This is me as a child of God. I know that he created me for a reason. And it's just a nice reminder to think about that every day. Regardless of what the world throws at you, you are important.
If we can just show the viewers, it looks like you have self-care notes. Can you show that? Because Jamie and I don't have any.
Oh. So here, I worked on this for quite a while.
Jeez, like we're just winging it.
There's my 3 pages. Well, I think this is something that's so important. And as I started thinking about what our topic was today, I thought this can relate to every single person. Mm-hmm. This doesn't have to really be a first responder spouse.
Sure. So do you really do this, like everything you were down, self-care for yourself?
No.
Oh, this is what you want to want.
This is the point, because I think we moms, we women, we spouses in general, what if you're a stay-at-home dad because your wife, chooses to go out? These are some things that I thought about that would be really great things for us to remember, to keep in mind, and ways to de-stress, take care of ourselves. Sure. Just a lot of different ideas that I thought of. But the whole point is, I don't think we do this enough.
Right.
So to that point, if you don't mind, it's funny because there are times in our lives, and maybe we are on the same kind of wavelength here, but there are times in our lives when, and this has happened to me personally, when you're going through the mud, right? And that's all subjective. So whatever that means to you. But there's been some pretty dark times, and somebody has literally had to sit me down and look at me and say, Jamie, I have been watching you for the past couple months, and you need some help, girl. Like, what are you doing to take care of yourself? Yeah. And at that time in my life, I was like, I have no idea what that even means for me right now, because I was so stuck into whatever my life was throwing at me at the moment. That I didn't understand what it meant to take care of myself. And so, and along with your little devotional there too, it's, and thank God. I mean, obviously when you come through it and you see the light of day, it's all in retrospect, but thank God, the good Lord threw me into those lessons, if you will, because I am where I am now.
Oh, absolutely,
And
100%.
there are things though that you just don't understand, and that I don't understand. I don't understand why they happen. They're horrible and tragic. And I don't have an answer for that. But to me, after lots of work, you have to come to terms with the fact that you are strong enough and you will get through this. God made you a channel of his peace, or that person in your life that you're struggling with made them a channel of his peace. So that means you're strong enough to get through it. So, and that's what I've taken through all of the pretty difficult times in my life. And again, that's all subjective too.
Yeah, that's easier said than done too. When you're busy
Absolutely.
in life and
Absolutely.
raising
Well, yeah.
children and
So
working.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
to the point of, what do you do to take care of yourself every day, or when you're in a bad place?
Right. So
I
let's just talk about that. So what do you do to take care of yourself? Because I don't. I mean, I guess as a mom and a wife and a sister and a friend, and
Yeah. Well,
there's not much.
and it's interesting that you say that too, because for me, I feel like when I take on all of my family's stress, if I could do this and if I could do that and if I could take this on, if I could do that, then everybody else is happy, right? So that makes for a happy family.
Oh my
But it's not.
gosh.
It's like the metaphor, if you will, of you're in an airplane and the oxygen masks deploy. You have got to be able to breathe to take care of everybody else's breath.
That is so true, and I don't know how many times I have to stop and realize that. Sometimes we feel like we are taking on everybody's burdens because people look to us to solve their problems. But one thing I remind myself is other people's problems are not my problems, but I'm always here for you to help you. And you say God puts you into certain situations and you don't know why. Well, I don't know why, but this is what I'm going to tell you. This is my experience. God puts you in those positions, whether it's a positive situation, whether you're learning something, whether you really, really hate what you're going through. Trust me, we've all been there. But you are put in these positions because God is trying to mold you the way that he wants you to be. He wants you to learn. And yes, bad things happen to good people, but that's God's way
sure.
of teaching you how to become more like him.
Yes.
God's goal for every one of us is to be more like him.
But so what do you do to, I guess, help yourself get through those days? Because again, we're trying to
Sure.
reach
Yeah.
the viewers. To me, there's not much because I
Well,
don't
if
do
you're
much self-care.
I've got all kinds of tips.
And if you're talking about tangible things too,
Right.
like tangible things, and two, obviously, take this as you will. I'm a woman of faith as well, but if it's the universe for you or whatever your higher power is, obviously there's
Absolutely.
there's a reason for all of that.
I call that soul searching.
There you go.
Yeah, some
Soul
people may
searching.
work strictly off of their energy. Some people may, be of a different faith. That's
Yeah,
totally fine.
But sure, I just want to know, where do you all have time to even fit this
Well,
into your day?
So it's funny that you say that. So I was blessed enough to go to a women's leadership conference in Licking County last month, and kudos to the ladies that put that on, because this was like a group of 200 plus like wonderful women who all got together, and it was an all-day thing. And in that, there were like their break-off sessions, and there was one about your passion project, right? So it was like, what dreams do you have? Here's the Z, and you're at A. How do you get there? So work
Right.
backwards, kind of a thing, and make
So it's
it
like a women's empowerment.
it was a leadership conference.
Did you get an invite?
It was in Licking County.
I mean, I would have traveled. What about you, Amy?
I'm always willing to travel to the ends of the earth for both of my
Well,
girls.
I mean,
but
2021.
Okay.
But anywho, so
I think what she was actually trying to say is we don't need leadership skills. Anyway, go
Sorry,
ahead.
guys.
I'm sorry. You know what? We really could talk for 3 shows on this. We're not going to
you
get
keep
through
interrupting
everything.
me. I'm trying to get you there. But anywho, so it was about your passion project. So I took this on vacation, and Eddie and I did this together. And there was a lot of information in there. There was big dreams, and there was, little dreams, and there was immediate stuff that could happen right now, right? So for me, my goal was, I'm all over the place. Like, I need to organize it. I need to get it together. Like, what is it that I need to do to make that happen? And what kind of self-care things are involved in that? And we decided, hey, we need an hour and a half, 2 to 4 days a week to ourselves to work out, right? So we need to go, and that's good for your mind, and that's good for your body. And so whatever happens with the family in that hour and a half, it's on you. And when it's your turn, it's on me. You know what I mean? So we kind of dedicated to that. So
that's good that you have that kind of marriage.
That's,
that
oh yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah.
both willing to do that.
Mhm.
And let me say this too: if you have a spouse that's not that supportive in that, you need to figure out how to take care of you. Like I said, you got to breathe first before you can take care of everybody
Right.
else.
That just works for your family because Eddie does not do a lot of special, so he's able to stay at home.
Well, he
to
has
make,
to work out at 5 in the morning, so we're working out at 4 o'clock in the morning just so he can go work out, and then he has to, deal with the kids at night while I go in the evenings. So it
just
was
balance it and what works for your
you just
family.
gotta balance it. Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm glad I'm not the only one that gets up at the crack of dawn just to do that.
oh yeah, I like to get up before everybody else does because
It's the only way you can get anything done. We all know that.
And that's when another thing, I meditate. Now I don't meditate every day because I just don't have the time. Sometimes the baby wakes up super early. But I try to as much as possible. I think that's really good. It's a really good thing for your brain, just to kind of settle down a little bit. And I do like 10 minute.
Well,
10 minute
some people
meditations.
may consider that meditation. Some people may consider that having
Worship.
rest.
Yeah, rest, worship. Sometimes it's going to church. Sometimes it's reading a book. Sometimes it's going out to lunch with your friends, like taking a break from all of it.
It's all right, folks. It sounds like a fairy tale because I feel
But I mean, I don't get to do all of those things all the time.
No,
Don't get me
no.
wrong. And like I said, it's objective, so it's different for every person out there. Whatever that means to you, what do you feel passionate about? What gives you energy? Sometimes it's going out on a Saturday night and dancing your face off. Or
Well, I just remember when I was raising my 4 kids, I truly hardly ever, never went out. Just never, like they were just my life.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. And there's
I don't-
nothing wrong with that. And
Sure.
you will never regret that.
No, of course
spending all
not.
that time and taking care of your kids. But for those moms that are out there that are living what you've lived,
But I'm just saying
what
it's
do
a
you
lot.
say?
You really don't have time to do all that because anytime that you do have, you obviously are trying to catch up on your sleep or you're trying to catch up on your housework. I mean, how many times do we get in the shower and like forget to wash your hair because you're such an
Or
such
shave
in
your
a hurry?
legs.
Seriously,
Forget to shave
Or
your
you
legs
shave
because
one
you're like,
leg and not the
I gotta
other.
get out. Hurry up.
Just
Yeah.
because you always feel like you're always rushing.
What's the
Brushing
one
teeth.
thing? So let me tell you. So let's get a little more specific. The one thing that I like to do that I can make time for, I like to blast my music when nobody's around.
Yeah.
That's a stress reliever for me. You might think that's really crazy, but if you find that one really good song, it's kind of upbeat, regardless of what you're listening to, blast your music for 10 minutes. Give yourself
Yeah.
a break. No,
Yeah.
your kids are okay for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and if you don't know how to get there and you really want to, if you're like, hey, I really need to take care of myself because I feel like crap. If you really want to get there, then you need to sit down and put it on paper. What drives you? What helps you?
Well, I'm in a different place now, so I can, but I'm trying to relate to some viewers who are raising children, being a stay-at-home mom or
Or a working
they're working.
mom, working
I'm talking about like
dad,
having small kids in my life. I don't think I could have done it.
Well, I'll tell you this too, on a super personal note. After Ollie was born, I went through postpartum really bad. I was very lucky enough to have, and kudos to my husband, because he was there from the time that I opened my eyes to the time that closed my eyes. He was super supportive of me the whole time. He gave me a lot of space and let me be really selfish during that period of time. Even though I was crying and crying and crying because I felt so bad because I couldn't take care of my family, right? Because I didn't know how.
Did you have that with your first son as well? Is it like is it hormones? Do you
Yeah,
think?
it's hormonal. And sometimes, I mean, there's no shame in getting
Absolutely,
help.
yeah.
No shame.
Um,
There's so many people that suffer from that wouldn't
Yeah.
even begin to admit it, first of all, but wouldn't know where to go to get some help.
Yeah.
So,
Well, because the society, I feel like, makes them feel like they should be ashamed and they shouldn't.
oh, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of pressure, but it's also pressure that we put on ourselves too. And no matter how many kids you have too, and you have 4, so it's a little bit different because I've only went through 2 pregnancies, but after each pregnancy, I had to re-identify myself because it was a different period of my life. So I didn't know what it meant to be a mom, and then I didn't know what it meant to be a mom of 2.
Yeah, it's a
with
whole
the-
different world.
with the supportive spouse. Like, how do I be a wife and take care of this brand new baby and take care of my son, and be a business owner? I mean, I didn't know how to do all of that
Didn't know
stuff.
how to
was
juggle it. Yeah.
overwhelming. So I did. I hermited. I did. I didn't like my body. I didn't like my mental state. I had so much anxiety about going to sleep because I knew the baby was going to wake up.
So what'd you do to help yourself?
Well, I realized intellectually that I didn't like the way that I felt. So something had to change, right? So it was a lot of conversation with my husband, and he's like, and I'll give you this reminder too, like, you're going through something. Give yourself some grace. You're going through something. There's some things that are out of your control, right? And the biggest thing for me was the control piece because I couldn't stop the way that I felt. So it just took some time. Well, for me, I realized like, hey, I have to get out and do something. So I went back to the gym. Well, guess what? My hormones were all off, and I ended up having a metabolic issue where I couldn't work out as hard as I was because my body wasn't healing.
Yeah, right.
So stunted. So here I am back at square one again. Okay, well, what do I do? What kind of things can I do to help myself? And the first thing that we discovered is that I needed to sleep. So what does that mean? I had to take melatonin. I had to take melatonin to sleep, and my husband had to be the one to get up with the baby. So that was kind of a decision that we had to make. In order for me to take care of myself, he had to get up with the baby. Now, luckily, he enjoyed it.
I don't know what parent says that, but
I mean, I'd still
he's
wake
a special guy.
up here and there. But yeah, I had his support. So that's, and if you do, like I said, if you don't have a supportive spouse, then find somebody that will support you.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily a supportive spouse. What if their husband works thirds? What if
They don't have a choice.
You know,
Sure. Again, find somebody to support you.
Yeah.
Find somebody to help you.
Yeah.
We're available.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, I think
I
that's,
don't know. I've done my babysitting days.
I just think it makes it very difficult for people to ask for help because, again, if you're in a situation where maybe you don't have family that lives close by and
I never asked for help.
Well, and that's a good point because I have had to pay for I've had to pay for it, and I say this all the time. It is expensive sometimes to pay for your mental and physical
some
health.
people can't afford that.
But it is an investment in your family as well. But yes, some people can't afford that. So
You know the one thing that I regret? I never asked for help when I had kids because I thought I could do everything because I was super mom, super wife, what have you. Never asked for help. But you know the one thing that I didn't do, and I think part of that was my personality, which I should have done, and these are free for people. Join your local little city moms club. All the moms need help there. I mean, you can be a blessing to someone else, and then you have 25 waiting in line to help you. Your local church, whatever you go to, there's always MOPS. There's always a mom's day out, a mom's night. There's always
and schools do it too.
Yeah, there are free resources for you. Do not delay and think that you're being a burden to somebody. I wish I would have done it. I think not only does it help you with your mental state, but it helps you socially, and these women become very close to you. There's no shame in asking for help.
And here's something that's entirely free. Keep a journal. Write. If you can write down your feelings and it helps you identify with them and make them tangible, just write them out. Write whatever comes to mind. You got to get it out some way, shape, or form.
Yes, and some people are very visual that way. So if you are someone who's visual, writing things down can help you not only attain your goals, but to help you feel better too.
So looking back, I didn't realize, I guess, raising my kids. I look back now and I'm like, how did I do it? Because I honestly, like,
We were in a
I
fog.
really didn't. I didn't have sitters. I mean, I didn't have people or family. Like Jim's parents lived in Cincinnati, so they would come once a year and babysit while Jim and I took a week vacation.
That's nice.
Oh, it was, I looked forward to it every year. But I'm just saying, like, I look back now and I'm like, how in the heck did I ever do it?
Yeah.
Like, with no help.
Well, and I think, too, I mean, for me anyway, like, I have to make a schedule because I have to schedule time. Isn't that crazy?
So if you're someone that has older kids, get the family calendar. You're all, you know, there's
an app.
so many. Yeah, there's an app. There's so many family calendars where you can all color code and everybody knows who's coming, who's going. That's
Well,
just a time saving tip.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in a different time now, obviously. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I go out on Saturday night sometimes, do that dancing that you're talking about. Like, I get my groove on.
Getting your blast of music. Yeah.
Right.
You know, what's really great about
But raising kids at
us
the time,
is-
you don't do that. Like, just hard.
No, you don't. But we're all three in different stages.
Yeah.
Mine are kind of that high school, middle school. Most of yours are
No, they're-
adults.
All three of them, besides one, Jimmy.
Yeah, most of
my
yours are
fourth is
adults.
not,
And yours need constant care.
Yeah.
Constant.
Yes.
Yes.
So I don't get to go out.
But I look back too,
I mean, every once in a while.
and I'm like, I don't understand how I never even drank then. And so I'm like, how did I make it?
Well, you
without
don't really
even-
now either.
Yeah, because I'm like, I find out, you know, if you do have like a glass of wine or whatever, I'm like, I like my kids better and I like my husband better. I should have done this a long time ago.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. But
Bubble baths are free.
yeah.
Bubble baths, add some salt. That has magnesium in it. It's going to be great for your body.
That is really good. It's
Yeah.
good for your muscles, but it's also good to kind of help
Yes.
rid toxins. But
Yeah.
you touched on journaling. I want to add something to that. I find it very helpful if you write down what you're thankful for, not just your goals and what's on your mind, but what are you thankful for? What has gone right? I mean, sometimes I look outside and, when spring comes and I see a cardinal, I'm like, oh, I'm so thankful for that. It's the little things that you really have to find joy in. But if you write that down, that is a reminder to you to realize all the really good things you do have in your life, and don't lose sight of those.
Yeah, a gratitude.
You remind me of my
bucket.
mother-in-law. That's what she would tell me. But again, like to me,
Well,
if I was a viewer tuning in, I'd be like, these ladies are crazy. I can't take no bubble baths. I can't write no journals. Like I don't think I could have with raising 4 little ones. I think if you do have small kids at home and you go to work, I think it would be easier. I never experienced it.
It is.
But I do think it would be easier.
How about
absolutely
this? Podcasts are free, hint, hint. But not only that, but there's so many comedic podcasts. Put in one of your earbuds. Listen to a podcast while you're feeding your son. Listen to something that makes you laugh. Read a silly joke book. I mean, it's all free. Laughter is a huge mood lifter and a stress reliever.
And I think, too,
You put your headphones on, your 2-year-old's like, and you got to give your headphones up to keep your 2-year-old shut up.
Maybe the AirPods without a cord,
I mean, come on now.
no, I get it. But I think the thing is like, you have to get there. You have to get to that point where you're like, I'm going to throat punch somebody. Like,
I'm there now, but I just wasn't then.
No, I mean, you have to get to that place where you're like, I don't feel good. I don't like this. Something has to change. Like, you have to be to that place where you're just, like, something in you, like, a fire is lit.
Yeah.
I have to do something.
But I never thought about it wasn't a bad thing. It was my duty, and I just did it.
I'm sure there's so many moms like you out there that aren't thinking about that, but maybe they're listening to us. I don't know, maybe they're too busy. But
looking back, I was like, man, I probably could have used a little bit
hindsight's
of
2020,
help,
right? I look back and see the things I should have done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because when people walk in, you're like, oh no, like I just mopped those floors. You
Yes.
shouldn't get like that. But
how about
when you're
having
so
a clean
busy-
house? That was one thing that I know that I always did wrong. I was so particular. My house had to be done. Everything had to be in place. Ask my husband, before we go on vacation, I scrub my house top to bottom, and you better not drop anything on my counter. I'm not like that anymore. He would say I probably am, but I've loosened up. So here's another tip. Decide what's really important to you. Is it really important that your laundry is folded right now, or can you fold that after the kids go to bed?
Yeah.
Spend some time with your kids. What's important to you? Maybe your family's important. Maybe your job is important. Maybe
that comes with
moms.
wisdom. That comes with age and wisdom.
Yeah.
So
But when you're in the mud,
Well, we've been there, so
I will say though, when you are in the mud, but that's the only thing that helps you is like, I have to fold my laundry. I have to clean my house. Like,
well,
that's
maybe
the
you're
only thing
someone
that's,
who craves organization, but trust me, when you are at the end of your life and someone asks you to reflect, you're not going to remember that your house was always clean. You're not going to care that your laundry was folded. You're going to care of the impression that you made on your kids or your family or your neighbors. If you don't have kids, you're going to care about the legacy that you're leaving behind, and you're going to care about how you raised your children.
well, and this is my bottom line with that too, is when I'm in that place, when I just can't get out of it, like I have to fold the laundry. It's control. It's all control
It
because
is.
nothing else in me feels like it's in control. So I'm controlling outwardly. The bottom line is when I get to that place, I have to go to God. For me, I have to go there because there's so many answers in that for me. So, find that something for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, whatever it is, whether
Yeah.
it's physical,
But going back to
mental.
what you're saying, Amy, when you're raising your kids and you're in your late 20s, you don't think like that. You don't think like, I'm going to leave this house alone because it's more important for me to go spend time with my family. Or
And that's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
That's why we're saying this, because
did your parents say it to you?
you have.
'Cause did you listen?
That's a
I
really
know my
good question.
grandma would always tell me that, and I never
Yeah.
listened.
You know what? I am from a very family-oriented family, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like, I remember
So
one time.
family is very important to us. Yes, but again, I think all of us inherently need to learn from our own mistakes and our lessons.
Sure.
Someone can tell us what we want to know all day long or what we need to hear, but until we make that mistake and learn it for ourselves, then that's
Yeah.
when we learn it.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I remember when we were going on vacation one time, I don't know, like 6 years ago to Florida, and nobody was helping. They were all just sitting on the couch, teenagers, obviously at the time. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to play the same game because I'm not leaving until this whole place, just like you said, was spotless. And I'm not leaving. I'm coming back to a clean house. So I sat down right with them. Long story short, we were late taking off for maybe 12 hours because, yes, I sat right with them. And finally when they were like, well, what are you doing? Like, are we leaving? No, because this list right here, all this has to be done before we walk out the door.
Mhm.
And obviously it got done, but we wasted 12 hours. And looking back, obviously I wish I could have changed. I wish I just said whatever and just shut the door and went on vacation. But yeah.
I mean, I'm still a little bit like that. I'm not going to lie. I'm still a little bit like that. But I was thinking the other day, normally by this time, before I go on vacation, I would have had an 8.5 by 14 yellow legal size of everything that needs to be done
People
and everything that needs.
initial it when they're done.
Oh, well, people being me, of everything that needs to be packed.
Monica
Everything that needs to be done.
from Friends.
Well, I'm not a good chef, but yeah, I am that type of person.
Well,
you talk about the control.
It's control.
Yeah.
It's
It's
a
so true.
control thing.
I remembered yesterday, I thought, haven't started my list. And you know what? I'm okay with that.
It's almost like you're not allowed to have fun unless you get all of the other stuff done first.
Yes. And when are you ever going to get that stuff done?
Right.
So you just keep spinning and spinning and spinning. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it, just growing up and learning the hard way?
For me, well,
Mhm.
I think maturity, and I use that term in the form of age and experience, is probably what changed that for me. But then also realizing that that's not what's important. My kids are important. And, I have one that's in high school now. And I've realized I only have a couple years left with her. She knows where she wants to go to school, and it's not close. And I'm if I can make that dream happen for her, that's what I'm going to do. So I realized I don't have much time left with her, and we're very close. Like I said, we are a very close family, and we would rather spend the four of us at home than my husband and I going out on a date night. We would just rather spend the time with the four of us at home. So when I woke up one day and realized that I only have one chance with my kids, and when I send them out into the world, I need them to be prepared. Then I better pay attention to my kids more than what I do, and make sure that they know how to do things, not only life skills, but they know how to treat people. They know how to handle situations. So I find myself spending more time talking about that stuff, and then instead of taking care of things.
Well, I want to touch on something you said. You said that the four of you would rather stay at home, you and your husband, than going on a date. So what do you do when your kids have grown up and it's just you and your spouse?
I
Like
know.
you're gonna have,
I think about
do
that
you have
all the
anything
time.
in
I'm like,
common? You're not.
sorry, honey, but I do. I'm like,
No, there's a lot of women out there that face this.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do at that point? You just stare at each other. Like, a lot of people get divorces after their children.
oh well.
out of
I
the
mean,
house.
that would never happen because we like to do things. But
I'm not saying that just because you don't know each other
yeah,
anymore.
no, I could see why that happens. I could totally see why that happens because I do sometimes stop and think like, oh my gosh, what's life going to be like when we only have one kid left at home? What's life going to be like when there's just two of us? But we do have a plan. We have something that we know what we want to do and where we want to be when we're doing it. And our kids, if they want to see us, they're going to have to come find us. But, we have thought about that. But I imagine that's probably scary for just about everybody, not being able to go in that transition from, we were married for many years before we even had kids. So we know what that's like. But think about people who get married, have kids right away. They don't know what it's like to be on their own, and then they realize, like, oh, I don't know if I really want to be with you all the
But
time.
it kind of goes back to self-care as in your marriage, because I personally think every couple should go somewhere at least a weekend once a year. I mean, Jim and I, we would come back. Like I said, his parents would watch the kids, and we would come back like newlyweds. Honestly, and like 6 months later, it would obviously die down or whatever, a couple months later. But then we looked forward to the next year, and we would come back. We turned our cell phones off.
You have to put each other first before. I mean, you have to take care of each other. You have to put each other first before anything else.
And it's hard unless you make time and leave somewhere, I think, to actually do that. Because it's not going to happen when you're at home because there's too much stuff that needs to be done.
I think we take our spouses for granted, though.
Yeah.
I think that.
Oh, I think they take us for granted, too.
Well, I mean, it's vice versa. You're true. Yeah, it's vice versa. I think that we do take each other for granted because we know we're always going to be there.
Right.
And so if I had to choose between doing something to help my kids and doing something to help my husband, I'd probably put my kids first. I'm sorry.
That's just
I'm
being a mom.
I'm being real.
Right. Well, I don't think that's neglecting your spouse or taking them for granted. I think that's just your motherly. That's how God made you.
But I think a spouse would feel that way.
Yeah, so how could you fix that?
Oh, that's true.
How could you do both worlds? Like, how could you do that for your children and do it for your spouse as well?
I'm open to suggestions.
You know what I mean? Because again, like at the end of the day, we all have to face the same problem. We're definitely going to help our children out before our spouse, but like you said, like it's going to make them feel. You know, like are we really taking care of their needs?
Well, that's when you have to talk. You've got to talk. You've got to communicate. You got to be good, open communicators and not take everything so personally. And I mean, that's necessary. Because if I'm feeling neglected, I'm going to be angry. Or if vice versa.
Yeah. So do you go to your spouse and tell them?
Oh yeah, all the time. If there's something that I'm uncomfortable with, he has afforded me the safety net to say, hey, like I'm not cool with this or whatever.
Yeah.
And knowing
And he
that
doesn't
he
take
won't
it personally? Oh, okay.
not to say that he doesn't always take it personally, or I don't. I'm the worst with that. But I still have to like bring it back down. Like, okay, this isn't necessarily about me. This is about him.
So are you the same way with your relations, whether it's your parents or your friends or your sister? Do you open up to them as well and say, hey, listen, like you've said this or did that?
Not necessarily.
So just him.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think, I mean, my husband is truly my best friend
Mhm.
because I think that even just recently, he's recognized when there's a whole lot more going on than what I would ever
Mhm.
begin to say.
See, I don't
Yeah,
share
and-
yeah.
yeah.
He can like read it.
Yeah, and he's been really great about like, okay, you need to stop for a second.
yeah.
Whereas no one else in the world would ever really recognize
Or
that.
care enough. You feel
Yeah,
you feel
yeah.
that way anyway.
Or not necessarily a care because I don't want it to sound negative, but other people have their own stuff
Well,
going
right,
on.
yeah.
You
So
know?
to wrap it up too.
Yeah,
Um,
we need to do a second show on
Well,
this.
just to let you guys know, I do not tell my husband. I don't tell nothing. Like I keep everything bottled up. Like I never share.
Girl, that is horrible.
I'm
You
just telling
you need to get that journal. I'll go get you one. I mean,
Well,
like
you know,
99
I've told
cents.
you guys this before. I do have my fanny pack, my spouse
Yeah.
fanny pack, and I
That's
keep
right.
stuffing it all in there. And
Let's
there is
go.
there is
Yeah.
times that stuff over explodes, and I go cray cray. But
But
Let's
do you
go,
do you
let's go to
regret
lunch
that?
and categorize it.
regret what?
Do you regret the explosion versus the kind of tidbits every once in a while of getting it off your chest? I mean, would you rather just talk to someone kind of as it goes?
Yeah, I'm sure, but that's just not the way I'm wired. I mean, I'm just wired to keep it all in.
You have to
and-
do what works best for you.
Yeah.
But
But I mean, no, my life would obviously be a lot easier, obviously, if I'm not keeping it all in. But I don't know if it's a prize. I don't know.
Dude,
It
we could
could
go
be- it-
all the way back to like adolescence. You know what I mean? It's all stuff from our childhood that we don't really necessarily think that we take with us, but it's just
I
programmed.
mean, I had a
into
great.
us,
I mean, I did. I had a great childhood. My grandparents were a huge part of it. And that's the
Mhm,
reason why I had a great childhood. But yeah, so I don't.
yeah.
I had an awesome childhood, and the great thing about my family's was always self-employed, so it was either feast or famine. But the great thing about my family is I never knew when it was the famine because my family took such good care of me and sheltered me from everything.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
you
so I
know-
try to do that to my kids too. But
Well, now we'll do another show about
yeah,
self-care, and
we could go on all
and
day.
we'll drink wine.
I
Oh,
still
no.
have notes.
I don't know if we should be drinking
But
wine.
I do want to wrap it up and just say, obviously, we all have the same stuff that you might or probably
Oh my gosh!
do.
Not to interrupt you, Amy. Can you please grace us with that mask one more time? Not to interrupt you, Jamie.
Oh my gosh.
Just to lighten your day because this was kind of a heavy topic today, girls.
So do you wear this
wanna-
at nighttime for bed?
I want
for self care.
to. Well, no, because I can still see. Just to provide a laugh for all of you.
my
Here you
gosh.
go. I don't even remember what this was from. Probably a kid's
Some
costume, but
mass piano guy or
Right.
something.
So when you want to have self care, you just put that on, and then next thing you know,
when I want to provide a laugh to others,
it was cute.
I act silly.
Well,
yeah.
let me end with this sentence, and you've probably heard this before too, but if you haven't read any of Rachel Hollis's books, it's a good read too. The Girl Wash Your Face.
Here we go.
series.
Oh, I've heard-
You got to have time to read those books,
But
Jamie.
well, right, you do. You
I
have
can't
to
tell
make
you the
time
last
for
time
yourself.
I read a book that wasn't like
But-
on the back of a package or.
But and
on a
it's,
milk carton.
she didn't come up with this, but other people's opinions of you are none of your business.
Well, here's something. I don't know if you girls saw
Trying
this
to end
thing.
the show.
No, there's another really funny one. If I had to pay my bills with your opinions, I would not be here.
I'd be broke.
yeah.
Yes.
So
your
anyway.
opinions do not pay our bills. Send us your questions. Send us your comments.
Yeah. How would they get a hold of us, Amy? Like, where would they send us?
I'm
their
sure you
questions
guys
and
have a
comments to?
lot of things you want to say, more topics that you want to talk about, comments for the show, except for my mask. I don't want to hear about it.
I do.
So we're on Facebook, Blue Line Real Estate Services Central Ohio. You can email us at bluelinegroupofOhio@gmail.com. Comment on our Facebook page. Tell us what you're thinking. Email us.
Yes. And what are we talking about next week, Jamie?
I forget.
Yeah, I forget too.
I mean, really, we could continue on with
Yeah.
this if anybody cares and wants to continue. I mean, I've got a lot of tips and things.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it was
Oh, the haters, like the,
yeah.
just
How do you
the-
deal with the haters?
Yes, not haters for like us, but just like the law enforcement world where
Yes.
there's so much hatred towards them in general, and how we deal with it as spouses, I guess.
That might be a long one too.
Yeah, right. Might have to do a stage 2, or
Yeah.
you know, a couple of shows. So yes, so
Yeah.
next week. So anyway, we're live from LEPD Firearm and Range on Bethel Road right here in Columbus, Ohio. Thank you for tuning in. We are your Blue Line group with your Blue Line Wives Roll Call podcast. Until next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.